Roti is a beautiful, flaky, buttery flatbread, and you see them everywhere in Malaysia. And they're often served as a savoury breakfast item with a little bit of curry on the side, but you also find them sometimes served with sweetened condensed milk, and that's what I'm going to make today. So first of all, I need to put a dough together. So I'm using 3 cups of flour, and of course when you're making a bread dough, you don't have to be too accurate with your measurements. You've always got a little bit of leeway there in terms of adding a bit more flour as you do your kneading. In goes a cup of water. The recipe calls for half an egg, so what I do is whip it up a little bit, and that gives me some sort of control over putting only half an egg in it. Then a good pinch of salt is our last ingredient, just to give it a bit of a flavour. The first mix of the dough I always do with a knife. Spin your bowl around, gradually gather all of that flour into the liquid ingredients. It shouldn't take much effort before it begins to clump up into a nice soft dough. And once that comes together as a ball, forget your knife, now it's all in there with your hands. And you want a nice clean surface to work with. And I've got my extra flour here, so as I start to knead, I may need some more flour, and I can just add that in as I go. And I'm looking for about 5 minutes of kneading, or until it starts to feel like clay. If ever you've done pottery classes, in an attempt to meet men or anything like that, if you're single, then that's the consistency that you're after. And as soon as the dough starts to stick to your hands or the board, that's when you need just a little bit more flour, but don't use too much because we don't want it to be a really dry bit of dough. We do want it to have a bit of moisture in there. That's starting to feel really good. You can tell when the dough's ready because it's got a lovely smooth surface on it, and it's a little bit cold as well. A little bit of elasticity in there. Now I can move on to the next stage. Roll it out to a large sausage shape, and you can see it wants to keep coming back in, and that's because gluten has a lot of elasticity until it's given a bit of time to relax, and so we just need to keep on coaxing it out, and soon enough you've got this long, lovely tube. Now I can divide this off into little balls. You should get about 10 out of this recipe, so just chop them off. Each portion of these is 1 roti. Massage them between your palms there. I can't stand doing dishes, so I'm just going to use my dough bowl to store these while they relax a little bit. But don't be afraid of using a fair bit of oil here, because you can always drain off a little bit of excess later on, but I don't want these cute little balls of dough to stick together. So just roll these around in that oil, and no wonder they taste great with all of that oil on them. Now, those don't have any raising agents in them, but they do need to rest because I want that gluten to really relax so that then I can stretch it out. Cover those up, and these will need at least 2 hours to rest, so I'm just going to pop them in the fridge.